So the next element of an object-oriented analysis under that skills, if you see the next one is a class. So class is represented a collection of objects having the same characteristics, properties that exhibit common behavior. It gives a blueprint of or description of the objects that can be created from it. So here in the class, it will give a behavior of whatever the objects that are present. So creation of an object as a member of a class is called instantiation, or that is an instance. Thus object is an instance of a class. So if you see how to draw a class, a class can be represented with a rectangle box. So here we are discussing in terms of a design. So any class can be represented with a rectangle box which is divided into three partitions. The first partition will represent the name of the class, and the second one represents the attributes, and the third one represents the methods or objects. So here the attributes or objects. Here you can say that methods, operations, functions. So we can call it anything here. So this is a representation of a class in design. Like any class can be represented with a rectangle box which is divided into three partitions. At the top we can represent the name of the class. The second one is an attributes or an objects. The third one is a method or a class. For example, if you are drawing a class for an animal, so this can be having a name of an animal. If it is a bird, we can give a name of a bird. If it is an animal, we can give the name of the animal. So if you say that dog is an animal, and what are the attributes, that is the features of that dog, how it is barking, how it is running, what is the color of the dog, all the things will become the attributes here. Now the method comes, what are the major features of that dog, what kind of food it is taking, whether it is a flying animal or it is a jumping animal, or whatever the methods that we want to define, we can define for that particular animal. So no matter, we'll come across how to draw these class diagrams, how to define all these things. So this is a representation of a class. Coming to the examples, let us consider a simple class, that is a circle that represents a two-dimensional space. So the attributes of this class can be identified as follows. So if we consider that a class as a circle, so you can give the name of that class as a circle. Just like we had discussed just now, if you take a rectangle box, the first partition will represent that is a circle, name of this, and what are the identifiers to a circle. If you see here, x coord to denote that x coordinates of a center, whereas the y coordinate denotes the y coordinates of the center, a to denotes the radius of the circle. So all these three will becomes as an attributes over here. So these are the attributes to represent. And when we talk about some methods, some of its operations can be defined as follows. That is a find area, find circumference, and scale. So here the scale is nothing but it is going to describe the increasing and decreasing of the radius of that particular circle. So these three will become as a methods over here. With this simple example, we can clearly understand what exactly the class and how to represent the class and how to define that class. So whenever you talk about the requirements, so any problem statement should be defined like this. So in terms of object-oriented analysis, we have to define what is the name of that class, what are the attributes that are required, and what are the functionalities or the methods that are going to be involved in that problem. Coming to the next one, encapsulation. So is the process of binding both attributes and the methods together within a class. So this encapsulation is nothing but a kind of binding, as we are familiar with the technique of an encapsulation. Through encapsulation, the internal details of the class can be hidden from outside. So if you have different types of classes, we'll come across the different kinds of classes. So when you talk about the inheritance, polymorphism, encapsulation, so these are the different kinds of features of your object-oriented programming languages. So in that, this is going to hide the classes which are internally and which are extended from one class to the other classes. Example, in the class that is a circle, data hidden can be incorporated by making attributes invisible from outside the class and adding to more methods to the class for accessing the class data. So if you want to access any other external things, we can add it. For example, for that circle, if you want to add a color for that, if you want to make the differentiation, the radius with the differentiation, you want an outer circle with a different differentiation. So to make all these, the internal things we can hide it, or the external things that we can make it and hiding this. So here the set values method to assign values to x coordinate, y coordinate, and get value method to retrieve the values of x coordinate and y coordinate. So here the private data of an object, my cycle, that is going to cannot be accessed directly by any method that is not encapsulated within the class circle. So if any private data is defined with that class, that cannot be going to be encapsulated. But the functions or the methods which is defined within the class is possible to perform the encapsulation. Coming to the next one, message passing. So this is much more important because to form any relation between one object to the other object, or to communicate from one object to the other object, this message passing plays a major role to communicate between the objects and the classes. So here message passing between the two objects is generally unidirectional. So that is unidirectional. So it is a bidirectional or it is a single direction. We'll come across the various types of message passing techniques. So here we are talking only especially about the objects. So under the objects it is unidirectional method. Unidirectional means bidirectional, it is going to perform the communication. So message passing enables all interactions between the objects. Message passing especially involves invoking the class method. Object in different process can be involved in message passing. So generally this message passing technique is used to communicate between the two objects with the directions. The next one is the inheritance. So inheritance is a mechanism that permits a new class to be created out of existing class by extending and refining its capacities. So here nothing but inheritance is a concept that is creating one class from the other class. So the first class becomes as a parent class. From that it is going to be extracting the child class. So from the child class again we can extract the one more class. So this is nothing but extending that one class to the other class. So the existing classes are called as a base classes or a parent class or a super class, and then in new classes are called as a derived class or a child class or a subclass. So as we discussed, the first class which is created becomes as a parent class or a base class, or it is also called as a super class. From that base class, whatever the leftover classes which are derived, that are considered as a child class or a new class, or it is a subclass. So types of the inheritance. So there are various types of inheritance are there. One is a single inheritance, multiple inheritance, multi-level inheritance, hierarchical inheritance, hybrid inheritance. So all these are the various kinds of inheritance. To draw the various kinds of class, if you take one application, out of that application, if you want to form the various types of modules, each and every module can be developed with one class diagram, and we can integrate and interconnect between all these classes. So this is a simple example how to draw a class diagram for any specific example or an application. So this is given for an customer order. This is a special order or normal order, what kind of order it is. So as I describe you, this is the name of the class, these are the attributes how to define, and then these are the methods. So among these classes, how to define the relationship between one to one, one to many, generalization, specialization, superclass or a subclass. So if you see here, there are 4 different types of classes are there. Out of these classes, we need to consider that which is a parent class or which is a superclass. So in this example, the order is a superclass, and from that superclass, this is a subclass which is called as a customer, whereas some more subclasses which is a special order or a normal order. And the relationship between these 2 different types of order towards an order is called as a generalization. So this is a representation of a model or a class diagram, right? So this is all about understanding the skills about object-oriented analysis.